What is up? It's Merg here. If you missed out on the developer live stream earlier today, don't worry, I got you. I took a bunch of notes and I'm going to be giving you all my thoughts and impressions over the whole 90-minute live stream that we got today. So one of the first things that we're going to hop into is the world tier and capstone dungeons. If you don't know, world tiers are going to be the different difficulties that you're going to be playing throughout Diablo 4. Currently, there's 4 world tiers. The first 2 world tiers are accessible at the launch. The 3rd and 4th world tiers will be locked behind capstone dungeons. The world tier 3 you'll get once you finish the campaign and hit level 50 and you do the first capstone dungeon. The first capstone dungeon, according to Riker, who's a professional Diablo 4 fan in his own words and content creator, said it was surprisingly difficult on veteran at level 50. And for the beta being as squishy as it was and as easy as it did seem, it's nice to hear that even on veteran, once you get into those higher levels, the game is going to progressively get harder and harder. Now, talking about this, if you're unsure of whether you're going to play a softcore character or a hardcore character, I would recommend running a normal character first just to get a feel for everything, because it would really suck to finally hit 50, finally finish the campaign, go into your first capstone dungeon, and you just lose all that progress right off the bat. Now, talking about World Tier 3, once you hit 50, you finish the campaign and you complete that first capstone dungeon, you hop in the World Tier 3, you're going to start getting unique and sacred drops. As you progress world tiers, another cool thing that they've added into later tiers is that instead of just monsters getting more health and dealing more damage, they're changing the AI within the mobs. So mobs are going to attack differently, they're going to move differently. The whole AI behind the mob is going to change as you get into progressively harder difficulties. Speaking of the World Tier 3 getting the unique drop in the sacred items. Now, when these items drop, say you're level 51 and you get a sacred item drop, the requirement for that sacred item is going to be 51. So whatever item the unique or sacred item drops at is going to be the level of the requirement. For sacred items in World Tier 3, they're going to be relevant from about level 50 to about level 70 until you get into World Tier 4, and then you're going to be getting ancestral items. And ancestral items should be able to carry you throughout the lifespan of your game. Now, speaking about gear, unique, sacred, ancestral items, one of the big questions was farming specific slots of items, and one of the ways that you're going to be able to farm specific slots of item is in the new Helltide zones. Helltide zones will be a good way to target farm specific items, specific uniques, sacreds, and ancestrals. Whenever you encounter a Helltide zone, whether it be in a dungeon or in the open world, as you complete events and kill mobs within the Helltide zone, you'll get a new currency called cinders. Now, throughout the Helltide zones, there will be different caches, and each zone will be on a set rotation. So I think it's like every hour a new Helltide zone will pop up, and they last for about an hour. Now, once you enter Helltide zone, you can't leave it. If you leave the zone, you don't get to go back into it. It's over. If you die within the zone, you can't get revived back in the zone. You can go back in the zone that way, but you will drop half of the cinders that you had, and you won't be able to pick them back up. They're not going to drop out your inventory onto the ground and someone else can pick them up, and neither will you be able to pick them back up. But talking about the caches, there'll be caches, and these caches will always be in the same spot according to which zone that it's in. And each cache will drop a certain specific slot item. So if you're trying to farm for uniques and you know where that unique cache is, you can go in, you can bust out all the events that you need, acquire the exact amount of cinders that you need, and hit that unique cache as fast as possible. So Helltide zones are going to be a very efficient way of farming gear and of farming specific items that you're going to need. Also, one of the new things that we learned today is that in the Helltide zones and the Helltide portals, there is always going to be a chance for the Butcher to spawn. So not only is the Butcher going to destroy us within dungeons, they are also going to destroy us outside of dungeons. The Butcher is just going to show up everywhere, and I wouldn't be surprised to see if the Butcher is going to make appearances in the PvP areas. And we're going to be getting into the Nightmare Dungeons. Now, the Nightmare Dungeons of Diablo 4 are going to be the greater rifts of Diablo 3. So as you're running about doing dungeons, completing quests, completing events, killing mobs, whatever, everything has a chance to drop a sigil. Now this sigil will transform a normal dungeon into a nightmare dungeon, and all these sigils will have different tiers, and they'll have different affixes to them, and they also have at least one buff for your character per sigil. Now these sigils scale very high. These sigils are going to be what's going to lead us into fighting level 150 mobs. Inside these nightmare dungeons, it's going to change the dungeon completely. So the layout of the dungeon is going to be changed, as well as the monsters, the type of monsters in them, and then the difficulty of the dungeon itself. So from what we see, the tiers can range from 1 up to 29. I'm sure they'll go the whole way up to 150 if we're going to be able to fight level 150 monsters. Once you've completed the Nightmare Dungeon, this is where you're going to be able to upgrade your Paragon glyphs. So at the end of each Nightmare Dungeon, you'll get 50 XP to a range of whatever, depending on the tier of the sigil to use to upgrade your glyphs. Now, talking about glyphs, let's get into the Paragon board. Within the Paragon board itself, there's going to be multiple boards. You're going to be able to switch the board around, start wherever you want, end wherever you want, and jump from board to board to really diversify and get immersive with your build. Now, within these boards, there's going to be 4 nodes: normal nodes, magic nodes, rare nodes, and legendary nodes. The normal nodes will be your basic +5 strength, +5 intelligence, +5 will, just very basic nodes. The magic nodes will have 1 affix, such as 8.5% crackling damage increase. Rare nodes will have 2 affixes and a bonus. The way the bonus works is there's going to be a requirement to unlock the said bonus. So you'll have to have, say, 300 dexterity, and then once you hit that mark of 300 dexterity, whether you have it already or not, you'll unlock that bonus. Then we're also going to have the legendary nodes. Now, legendary nodes are going to be extremely powerful, and they're going to really add to your build, and some of them might be specific to your build, and you're going to need to have that to really bring out the most of your build. But legendary nodes are not going to be the most powerful. What I think is going to be the most powerful node on that board is your socketed glyphs. Now, the way socketed glyphs will work is when you acquire a glyph, you're going to be able to socket it on the Paragon board, and you're going to be able to level up that glyph, and all the nodes around that glyph are going to be affected by that socketed glyph. So as you level it up, more and more nodes around that socket are going to be affected, and those nodes are also going to be leveled up. So even though you have a legendary node across the board that says gives you a 50% increase to Rain of Arrows, and then you have a rare node that gives you a 25% increase to Rain of Arrows, you'll be able to level up the socketed glyph that's close to that rare node but not close to that legendary node, and make that rare node 5 times as powerful as the legendary node. In total, there's going to be 220 nodes in a Paragon board. So there's going to be multiple ways and pathing that you can go throughout your Paragon board. And I really feel that Paragon boards are going to add just a ton to your build, and you're going to be able to diversify and get really immersive with your build. And it's going to be extremely in-depth and really add to everything. Now they go on to talking about beta feedback. In my last video, I went over everything from the beta feedback. They put an article on Blizzard Entertainment Online. So a bunch of that is just re-going over the class changes, different UI changes. They changed the font on items and how everything is. And they also talk about the backtracking in dungeon. And they actually show you a few of the dungeons and how they changed the layout around so you're not so much running in a circle and backtracking a lot as you are going more on a linear path that has branch offs, but it will still bring you back to that linear path. So that's going to be really nice. And they also said for objective based dungeons, one of the things they touched on was the one objective of you have to kill all monsters. So say you have to kill 100 monsters. Once you hit 75 monsters, those last 25 monsters are going to chase you. They're going to come to you. So that way you're not just running around trying to find that mob that's like stuck somewhere, that's just hiding somewhere. You're not going to be spending time just running around endlessly. The enemies are going to run towards you. So in terms of the dungeon reset button, that was that was one thing that brought up a lot of controversy, because I know at the end of the beta, one of the things a lot of people were doing was constantly running the Anima dungeon to farm for legendaries and just better gear, better stats. And if they would take away the dungeon reset button, we weren't really sure on how we were going to be able to do this or how resetting a dungeon was going to work. But from the one developer, they talk about if you're within the dungeon and you complete it normally and leave the dungeon, it will take 60 seconds for that dungeon to reset. Now, if you TP out of that dungeon and run around and go do something else, you have to wait around 130 seconds for that dungeon to reset. Now, if you're with a group and you complete it normally and leave, it's the same 60 seconds. If you teleport out and go do something else, it's still the same 130 seconds. I'm really happy they talked about this, because this is one of the things that I was very worried about, because it was a lot of fun to just keep running Anima over and over again, because it was the fastest way to farm legendaries. It's the fastest way near the end of the beta to really buff out your character. Now, after that, they go over just a little bit more of Q&A stuff that we kind of already know about Altars of Lilith. The one thing about Altars of Lilith that they talked about is, so if you're playing a softcore character on Realm of the Eternal, which is just non-seasonal, you have to unlock all those Altars of Lilith on one character for softcore. And then for every other character you make on softcore Eternal Realm, will have those Altars of Lilith already unlocked. Now, if you go to make a hardcore character, you'll have to redo all the Altars of Lilith again, but you'll always have those renown points unlocked for any other character you make after that. The one thing I was a little bit unsure about, but I'm like half and half on, is that when season 1 comes around, your first season 1 character will have to go back and get the Altars of Lilith. But after that, every season after that, you will not have to go back and get those Altars of Lilith again. Now, I'm not 100% sure on that, because I could see them just saying that if you're going and doing a hardcore seasonal ladder and you already have it unlocked on your Eternal Realm hardcore character, you should just have it unlocked already going into the season. But it won't be the worst thing in the world if season 1 comes around, you have to get all the altars again, but then for the rest of every single season up to season 20, 30, whatever, you have it unlocked. Now, for the big secret announcement that everyone's been wondering about, everybody thought it was going to be the 6th class, whatnot. It is actually another beta playtest. Now, this beta is going to be called Server Slam. Whether you've bought the normal edition, the ultimate edition, deluxe edition, whether you're playing on console or PC, it is open to everybody May 12th through the 14th. Now, the reason it's called Server Slam is because they really want to test their servers. They want to see if their servers can handle everything come launch day, which is huge. I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited that they're taking servers seriously, because I know myself and a lot of others are very worried about taking the time off and being ready for day 1 and then hopping in and it's just queue upon queue upon queue, or you're just getting disconnected, or there's just constant lag. As we all know, that happens, but it's very nice to see that they're taking into account how much people want to enjoy their day 1 experience. Now, you will be able to re-earn the beta rewards if you weren't able to earn them last time, which is the 2 titles in the beta wolf pack. And there's also going to be a new reward once you hit level 20 and you kill a Shava once with one character. You will get a very cool trophy mount. And it's almost like you severed one of the legs off of a Shava and now you can mount it to your horse as you ride around. All the things we just talked about in my notes and within the developer live stream are going to be live come beta on May 12th through 14th. So you'll be able to check out and see all the new changes made that we've talked about. And I'm very excited. I can't wait to play with everybody come the new beta, and I definitely can't wait to play with everybody come June for full launch of game. That's going to be it for today. If you liked the video, please leave a like and follow below, and I'll catch you next time.